All right, gentlemen, I just wanted to thank you guys for letting me show you some of the things I've learned over the years. And I'm titling this presentation, How to Effectively Support Your Sermon with PowerPoint. And I want to really emphasize the key term in that title is effectively support. So I want you to think about your PowerPoint presentation. When you're putting together a PowerPoint presentation, it's important to know that every slide has a job, and you need to be willing to take a step back, look at your PowerPoint and ask the question, is this slide effectively supporting my sermon by helping unfold the story or sermon? Will it ultimately take my audience on a journey and get them to the desired destination? And so you need to be thinking that way, like, is it doing its job? And so how do we use PowerPoint or presentation slides to support or accomplish that goal? So what I want to do is I want to kind of do kind of a walkthrough in real time, how to make a template. And as I go through that template, I want to be emphasizing, or I will emphasize, there's some tools and some techniques that you can use to streamline, to be effective in your presentation with PowerPoint. The bottom line is you don't have to do a lot. You just want to make sure what you do helps do two things. One is drive home your point, and number two, anchor the key ideas. So they call it anchor memories when you do that. When you, this is my point, it supports it, and this is something to help them anchor that memory. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into PowerPoint, and I'm going to show you how to start a blank. So when everybody get into their PowerPoint, just start a blank slide. And one of the things that people sometimes, what's that?
I just asked if they were doing it.
Yeah, one of the things people have done wrong coming to our church is they don't always understand that they shouldn't, they need to make sure that they're using 16:9. So one of the first things that we want to always do is go to design, and then go to slide size. You do 4:3, it's always going to look like there's a bunch of black on the sides. So you always want to make sure it's on wide 16:9. Should never have to change that again, but that's just something that I've seen happen with guest speakers. So when you go to our church or come to our church or you go somewhere else, make sure it's on 16:9 if that's what they're using. So that's kind of the first
comment about that, Poochie. I've been at some churches that don't use 16:9. I was down in Tucson and they use 4:3, and I had to go back and adjust all my PowerPoint slides to fit their screen or their sizing.
Wow.
Yeah, and it took some time, unfortunately. I had to just kind of move them in to make it work. Otherwise they cut off the sides, you know.
And that happened at the Bible conference, or at the Men of God conference in Gus, or someone had that happen. Okay, so let's walk through making a template. Templates are effective for creating kind of like, this is what I want to always use when I do. Well, let me ask this question. Let me see if you guys know this. What are the main elements in your PowerPoint presentation? Not the unique ones, but the main recurring types of slides. I'll give you an easy one. There's a title, right? What's another type of slide?
Non-title.
How about?
So, and we're kind of talking this through. So you've got a title, and then you have your outline. So you've got kind of your main points. And so I'm thinking each slide is, with your main points for your outlines.
And then perfect, Rick. So I like to call that the handout part. So you got the title. So you look at your handout or your manuscript, you have a title that you can add, and you have a handout. What else do we have that we want to kind of like have on the screen? Because what you want to be thinking about here is there's only really two parts of this screen you see in front of me. The main two parts to a PowerPoint are really only two things, and then there's the additional supporting things. It literally comes down to, let me go back to new slide, and that would be better. So this is literally all your PowerPoint is literally a header and a body. And if you just think that way and don't get all into how do I make it look like, someone who's really good, just keep that's your basis. And so your main points are you're gonna have a title one, you're gonna have handouts with the fill in the blanks, you're gonna have Bible verses because you want people to see the verses, and there's different ways you can do that. We'll talk about that. And then if you get those three things done, and when I think handouts, I think also bullet points, because I'll show you this in the template. If you get those three things done, then the only two other things that you could possibly do is like put pictures in for your introduction, put in quotes from people, and other supporting Bible verses. So it's really only like those 4, 5, or 6 elements that your whole PowerPoint is basically using. So kind of just simplify it in your brain. I've got a header and I've got a body, and if I get that down, what I'll show you today, you can have your handout done in about 2 hours as far as being in PowerPoint. So let's just start this. So we're going to click on view, and these are tabs at the top here. Okay, if you see those. So we're going to go to view, and then we're going to go where it says master view, and we're going to go to slide master. So Word or Microsoft has decided they're going to try to give you some help in creating your PowerPoint. So this top one here, it always starts in the middle, but this top one here is called a master slide. If you change that one, every slide will look the same. But these sub ones are different types. So here's a title one, here's a title and content, here's a section header, there's a dual or 2 content layout, and there's about 7 or 8 or 9 of them. But they're creating this for you just to kind of, speed up the process. So now that we know there's 4 or 5 different types of slides that we need to do, let me walk you through how to do a template for those 3 or 4, and then you can decide if you want to do the unique ones. So the first thing we want to do is we want to open our Word document that is our handout. So I'm going to go into my Word, and I'm going to open up, and mine was at the end of my manual. But wherever your handout is, I'm going to show you how to get this handout at least through point A and some of these into here with very little. All the heavy lifting is up front, so you don't have to keep coming back and starting over. Otherwise, it takes several hours to do a PowerPoint. So I want to get point A and the 1s and 2s and all of the bullet points into my slide. So first thing I want to do is I want to create a background. And backgrounds are important because they kind of set the tone. And I personally like to use a theme for when I'm doing a presentation. So right now I'm in the book of 1 Thessalonians, and I'm going to use those thematic slides, and I'll show you where I got them from, to kind of just let people know this is the book we're in. And then when I switch to a different book, it's going to be a different set. There'll be a little bit of variation on those last 2 points of quote and maybe some other verses and maybe some images, but typically I'm going to stick with this theme. So first thing I want to do is I want to add. I clicked on the 3rd one on the left, and I'm going to right click that, and I'm going to format the background. So I go down here, and all of a sudden I have this slide out called format background. So there's this option that says picture or texture fill. When you click that, it's going to automatically add the default texture. I want to add a picture. So I'm going to come down here where it says picture source. I'm going to click that. Now it's going to ask me where do I want to grab the picture from. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways you can get pictures, and I want to talk about something called free versus legal. I'm going to use a downloaded image from a file, but I want to address this because sometimes we get taken off of YouTube because we're using someone else's copyrighted information. Whenever you're in Google Drive, let me just start this over. And you're looking for an image. So I'm looking for 1 Thessalonians. These are great images, but these are copyrighted. This one belongs to Bible, whatever. If I use these and someone flags it, they can take it off because I haven't got permission. There's some common rights no one does it, but if you don't want to go through that, you come to tools, usage rights, and this is the key, Creative Commons licenses. The moment I click that, I get a smaller amount, but any of these that I use, the author has given permission or the copyright has expired, and these can now be used without any repercussions. And so this is a kind of a simple, let me do Thessalonians. You'll see a few more if I just do that one. You always gotta repick tools because it defaults to it not being on. But I might find like a Bible verse or a picture or something of that nature. It doesn't have it here, but I'm gonna take you back into PowerPoint. And let's say, for instance, I want to use the online pictures, same type of search for their online database. I'm going to look for Thessalonians. And what's nice about theirs is they automatically choose that Creative Commons only. So now I'm not fighting, is this going to be, taken down? Now this one here is a nice one because it's going to show the whole Bible book, and I'll show you later how we could use that. But there's a reason why I wouldn't use it, and I want to explain it later when we get to that point. So I just wanted to bring that up. So does anyone have any questions about that? If you want to use free images, you can use Creative Commons. Otherwise, you can go to places like PicArt. There's a bunch of places that will give you free pictures and different stuff like that. So I'm not going to go through all those, but you don't have to be worried about using high quality images. There's a lot of places, there's steps. But I wanted to get that just in your thinking. When you're seeing images, ask yourself the question, is this free or legal? And if it's free, it doesn't necessarily mean it's legal. We use them anyway, but I just wanted to let you know there's free resources. So I'm gonna skip this step. I'll show you later how to do that. So I'm gonna basically pull in some images that I downloaded. I don't know if you guys know this, but when you're in Logos, if you just go in Logos and put in the name of a book, it will show you a media presentation for that book. This is their free, their team puts together these for each of the Bible. So you have to kind of have the theme just by using theirs. And the main one I want to use is this bottom. This bottom one here is kind of like just like a blank. So I've already downloaded that. So let me go ahead and get back into the PowerPoint. And I've got it here. So I've got this folder of all these backgrounds. So I'm thinking I've got 4 or 5 elements I want to create. Sometimes there's more. Which one would be good for a title? That looks like it would be good. Titles are one and done, so I'm not going to do that right now. Let's work on our main ideas, like our using. Click the right button here. Okay, so now that's in there. It's not like an image. I can't remove it. It's in the master template. It's there, but I don't like the fact that I can't actually read anything here. So here's some rules that you want to use when you see a dark background or a light background. Just do the opposite. So this right here, if I click on that one, it gives me the handles, and I hold down Control and gives me the handles on that one. I can go back to Home. I can change the color of the fonts. All of a sudden it pops. And I want to do a little more because I want to put a little more to it. So I'm going to add the shadow, and I'm going to add bold. You see how it pops? Now this is the master one, so I also want to create the place markers, because this is this right here is my point A through whatever, and this is my point A. I'm going to bring that down so that it doesn't block the title, and I'm going to double click that and see, okay, it's 44. I could keep that, but I want to have more room, and I'm going to go with Time Roman, and I'm going to do 40. And I'm going to show you, if I wanted to be kind of loud, I could use impact. Impact's too loud. It looks too blurry, but you could use something like that. But you want to make sure whatever your text is, there's 3 rules about text. needs a contrast, it needs to be aligned, and it needs to be legible. So you have to make sure you have those call numbers, CAL. It has to be contrast, alignment, and legible. And basically Microsoft's going to give you these alignments where you can have enough space, because less space is better than busyness. So let's go back to times and let's go ahead and make it 40. Okay, so that's going to be my point A, but I don't have a point A there. So I need to come up here and I need to tell it I want this to be that, use that system for anytime I use this template, that's going to space it, it's going to be A, and I can change it to B, C once I get there. Now here, this is clearly not 40. The rule for bullet points is typically no more than 4 lines and usually no more than 8 words per line, okay? So I don't need this bottom one per se, but I want to get all these bigger, and I know that I need them to be numbers. So I'm going to change it to numbers, but now it thinks all of them are 1. So I have to click each separate one and change it to match. So I'm going to go to 1. Always forget A. Third level is going to be that one. Fourth level is going to be. Now, I personally do this because I haven't figured out a way to tab and get it to look like A and 1 to be right. So I'm going to lose a little bit of space here, but I'm going to take all these up to 40 now. Times and 40. And then I'm going to make sure they don't have shadow. Yep. Sometimes I forget some things here. Looks like it's still got the impact on there. Doesn't look terrible. You can just see the contrast there. But I've done enough now. If I just started working through this, I could basically put in all my handout points. And I'll show you that in real time in a second here. For some reason, the A with the parentheses doesn't give a space. So sometimes you have to add that back. All right, so that's the main body. I'll show you a little trick here on the title. Let's just do that real quick. And make sure before I leave here, we're good. Yeah, okay. So when you're doing the title, same thing, you just pick your background. Format background. It was already open, but if you want, just for steps, click on picture, insert picture from a file. I'm gonna use this one. Now what's really neat about this is I can take my placeholders, and there's a thing called hierarchy. So basically you wanna have the bigger font at the top, and like a reverse pyramid, you wanna have the middle smaller and the very, very smallest at the bottom. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna show you how I would basically create a template. So I'm gonna do my control, get both of those. I'm gonna pop them with white. Make them bold and shadow. Now, it doesn't look right to me. Someone's going to be able to tell that I'm using the template or something from another, this is from Logos. So here's a neat little trick. You can go to text options, and you can click on color, and there's an eyedropper. Once that appears on the screen, I can pick a part of, look a little closer. See how that little box shows me? Now all of a sudden it looks like it was all created together. So that's just a little trick. If you pull something from another, like it already has a font that you don't have the color for, and this one has like the granule color, pick that eyedropper out and try to match it to a color that makes it look like it's on purpose. So now when I look at that, it looks like, hey, it's pretty, it looks like it's together. Now I'm gonna make sure these aren't too big. And so the rule for graphic design is you usually go edge to edge. So I'm gonna probably leave that one, and it's only the title one. This one I'll probably make a little bigger so that it matches. So let's go to 40 for that one. And the rule also is, I think Pastor does this, it's usually all caps for subtitles. Am I right on that one, Pastor?
I do all caps on the top part, and then lower, I wouldn't do necessarily all. And I would definitely have it smaller font than the main title.
On the middle section or bottom section?
No, what I mean is, a lot of times I don't have 3 sections. There's
Okay.
usually 2. So on the main one, I would put the title in,
Okay.
yeah, and see, what I would normally do is, at least lately, I have a title, I have Ecclesiastes, and then I have the next one, open up the curtain with the message title is the second slide instead of the first.
Yeah, so
First one,
great point.
the series, second one introduces the message.
Yeah, it's the
All preferential.
the individual. So you got you got a series title, and then you got the individual. And so the thing that really you'll notice, what really matters is that you're consistent. So pastor does that through all of Ecclesiastes, and when that gets all packaged up, it's gonna feel like it's one cohesive message. So I'm more or less appealing to you to make sure whatever you do it consistently through that whole series, so people can feel like it's like, oh, here comes the Thessalonians, so just predictability. Okay, so not going to change that one anymore because just a title one. This one here is good. So what if I want to get a Bible verse in here? I'm going to duplicate this one, and I'm going to now treat this. Let's see here, we'll do this. We'll take A off. We don't need that anymore. And we can bring it up here. It's placeholder. And now what I'll do with this one, because it's the Bible verse, so I'm matching the edge there. And I'm going to get rid of all of those. It doesn't really matter what words there, but so now when I go to put my Bible verse, this will be the title, and this will be the words. And again, I want to make sure 40, it's got its shadow on, and that. So far, I've got 2 recurring things. So when I'm in the slide master, you can see over here, there's a slide master tab right next to file. I want to close it so I can get back into the actual presentation. And if you notice already, the ones that I've made, whatever template I had used, it modified those. So you can literally go into the template master, and change how it's laid out for any slide that matches that type. And if you want to change all of them to 1, you just change the top one. Okay, so now let's go and think, how do I get the content I want in here? So I'm going to go back to my handout, and I want to get A. I'm just going to basically copy and paste. And there's a couple different ways you can do this. So it looks at, I usually use keep text only, because that means it'll borrow whatever. Let's try it again. It'll borrow whatever is set for that box. I don't really like this impact, but I'm going to keep going. So, and it seems like it's really fighting to get a lot of words in there. So I'm going to play like my title shorter, because I want it to be all one line. All right, so that's my number 1. Now I go back to my handout again. That's my number A. And I'm gonna create another document for you guys. There's a way to actually code it on your worksheet, and it will do this for you. But it just is a little trickier, so I need some time to create that video. So it's coming. All right. So right now I've got my first A. I've got my number 1, and I want to go ahead, since I have room, put in my first question. Double space it. I'm going to keep text only. And I don't need the number. I want that to be like that. Now, if I wanted this, let me do that. If I wanted this to spread all the way across, I would need to create its own box on the template. So let's review now. Now that I've got these 3 things on the screen, the rule is, Pastor agrees with this, is you do one thing at a time. So depending on what your buildup is for this PowerPoint, you may want to do reveal, 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 but I usually just do the bottom two because typically I've already said something to say, and that means the elements are blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to go to animation and I'm going to click appear. Now what happened, well, it's probably because I've used this before, but typically what happens is you'll get 2 1s. So what you want to do, and this is actually really, really important to note, is you want to make sure your animation panel doesn't have like blank clicks. Pastors had it happen, I've had it happen where you're clicking and nothing's happening. That happens sometimes when you're adding animation, you don't do anything, no words to it, maybe you've deleted it and it's sitting there. So you can check at any time what your animations are. You can move them around. See that? And I can take that one and I can put that at the top and look at the numbers. They'll switch. So now this is 2 and this is 1. I can move this back. I can make them. Try it again. I can make them click at the same time. Click with previous. Now they're going to click at the same time. I'll show you that. So elements for giving. Boom. Don't want that. So I go back and I say start on click. Now it's back to 2. So just super important to remember bullet points. They come one at a time. Typically no more than 8 words. Even though this is more than 8, it's still enough space. So that's that point. So let's just say if you stop right now, you're running late, you just had to get something together, you can get your hand out just by putting the title and doing all your major points just with this. And it would take you probably 2 hours. If you want to keep moving, now the next thing you want to do is verses. So here's what's neat about the templates. When you create templates inside of a PowerPoint presentation, they become available here with the ones that Microsoft already has. And one thing I did do, I want to show you this real quick here. Go back to view. I like doing this. I like naming them. That one's not as important as this one, but you can name them whatever you want. So I might say Bible verses. And I might put the name of the book there just in case I use them outside of her and I know that this has Thessalonians on it. So when I'm here, close that again, and I go to new, it'll say Bible verses. So how do I get my Bible verses in there? There's 2 ways to get Bible verses in there. You can cut and paste. And again, Logos is your friend. Logos has the ability to, let's see here. It's called copy verses. And I already have it in here. But when you do that, it opens up here and you can just copy it or copy and paste. It actually put it in my Microsoft Word or whatever I tested, but I don't want to do that. So then I copied it. It's on my clipboard. I come here, I dump it. I got to get rid of the extra stuff. Oh, let me make it big. And then I got to get rid of the extra stuff. So let's do this, do that. And we'll put that up above. Now, my complaint with the background one that I've chosen is this says First Thessalonians and it says First Thessalonians. I would probably get a better background, but you can see how it was just really quick to get that in. And again, I'm checking to make sure everything's there. This is 40. This is 40. So when I'm in the back of the room and the litmus test is go to the back of the room and see if you can remember those 3 things, CAL. See if there's contrast, you can read it, see if there's alignment, and see if it's legible. Because if you can't read it, other people won't be able to read it. So that's how you get this in there. You also, in Logos, could just use they'll create a PowerPoint slide for you. So I've selected the same verses. I right click here, I go to visual copy, and it'll create it for me. So then I just tell it, send this to PowerPoint. I go back to PowerPoint, and there it is. Formatted into pretty nice looking, looks better than mine. So they have nice space on the side. Only thing is I can't manipulate it. It's just a picture. So one thing Pastor does a really good job of doing is he highlight.
Verse numbers, just so you know.
What's that?
There's no
Say
verse,
again?
the verse numbers on
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Let me show you that. Yeah, you can do that here. You can just say,
This being recorded.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, it is.
Thank you.
It just depends. There's a way to get them added back. You can also just add them yourself. Let's just play around. I don't know what 3 is, but somewhere in there. So let's just say 3 is there, and it'll just keep formatting until it gets all of the words on there. So when I send it now, it'll be reversed. But I'll have to look and see. There's a way to get Logos to know that the numbers are coming through. So let's skip that for now. So one thing you want to do is be able to highlight a word. So if you have a picture, you don't have text you can mess with. In this particular verse, I'm going to emphasize 3 things that Paul was thankful for the Thessalonians for. He's going to be thankful, and I'm going to use, it's kind of a messy because the line broke. But I just basically took a shape, and now I'm going to go here. I'm going to empty the shape and put a outline on it. And you use this weight part to make it big. And then I'm going to change it again. Here's the rule. Whenever you're highlighting, there's 2 colors that they recommend. When you're on a dark background, highlight it with a white. Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Try that again. Highlight it with white. And when you're on a when you're on a dark background, when you're on a dark background, highlight it with yellow. And when you're on a light background, highlight it with blue. But I'm not going to worry about that because the white jumps pretty good. And once I have the white there, I'm going to just copy and paste. And I would normally, if I knew I was going to have to get words that were broken up on different lines, I would probably either use an underline. Again, it's from the shapes. I would do something like, like this. And it's going to have to just be white. Got to do the weight again. And I would literally copy that one. And when I would do my actual animation, I would animate these 2 together. So let's just animate these just so you can see the difference. Okay, so go back to animation. Which one did I pick first? Okay, so I picked that one. I want to also do this one. So I'm going to do all of them. Oops. Control, click them on. It's my old eyes, guys. Okay, so it's just things are all 1, and these are all 2, but I want to make this one 1. So I'm going to bring that one back up with the other one. And I'm going to tell it to show it down to there. Oops. Click. Okay, and then I'm going to tell this one start with previous. So now they're both 1. And I'm going to do this one and keep it as 2, and this one I want it to be 3, but that's in the wrong spot, so I got to pull that. And do. Oh, I did that wrong. Try it again. This is what I want. For some reason, it is not seeing. So this one's that one. This one's that one. See, I'm clicking through. That one says 2. Oh, we don't want that one. And this one is, pull that one down. And I'm baffled. I'm not sure why it's not working. Let's just go through and see these two. So the line in the first circle is going to go together. I'd have to troubleshoot. I'm not sure why it's not. So that would be the way I would try to emphasize a text while I'm talking through it. And I can send you guys. Dale Pearson gave me a long time ago a way that he marks emotions and clicks in his speaker notes, so that he knows when he's going to have a raised voice and when he's going to click something. So I'll pull that up and I'll send it in with the other resources. But I don't want to keep going on that. Try to fix that. Okay, so Bible verses like that are pictures, you have to do this. If I wanted to do it on the actual text, since I can manipulate this, I would just copy it. So you just duplicate it, and then I would choose the words. And now I can do that. And remember the color. I'm picking that color, and I want to pick the color of yellow.
The value of having one you can write on too. You don't have to go through all that, you just circle.
Yeah, no, that is very true. There's a lot of times when I just will use that, but this is if you have to animate it. But yeah, good point, Pastor. So now that I've got it with one word, I can duplicate it a second time. The reason why I have to do it this way is Microsoft doesn't let you pick anything but a whole paragraph. So I'm going to go on this one, and I'm going to make it yellow again, duplicate it a third time. And you'll see how this looks once you get all of them in there. And, oops. Now, I'll show you a little trick here before I get done with this. Let me take this out. This is your friend. It's called a format painter. So if I like some kind of formatting here, this little thing is called format painter. If you click it once, it'll do 1-to-1. If you click it twice, it stays on. And so I can go to any thing and drag over it, and it will just throw that on the next word. And so if I want to keep going through this whole thing, I could just keep making things yellow. You hit escape to get out of it. Okay, so now that I've got that done, there's my verse. When I'm actually doing this here, God wants to, Paul wanted to thank God for their work of faith. He wanted to thank God for their labor of love and their great hope. So now it looks like I've animated. So that's just a way to create some interest and emphasis on those words. Some people will only show a part of the verse because they don't want people just to check out and read the whole verse. But we like to have the whole verse.
I would be prone in that, Poochie, to do work of faith in one color, labor of love in a second, patience of hope in a third.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
No, that's what I would do. Because then you'll
because it's three separate things
in phrases.
Yeah.
I mean, this works.
Well, and if you
just that
awesome. Yeah, and if you're doing it 3 different colors, whenever you bring up that, like you're going to talk in this section about that, you're focusing on the green, you're focusing on the yellow, on the gray. So it definitely helps. Again, what's the 2 things we're trying to do? We're trying to drive home a point, and we're trying to make it stick, create a memory. So now that you've got basically kind of like a third of your message here, you can just keep doing this until you're done. So once you're done with that, then you would get into, maybe I want to bring in some images. So I talk about this couple going on their honeymoon in Norway. It was a fjord or something like that.
Fjord?
Yeah, the fjord, the Norwegian fjord. So
fjord.
2 syllables.
J is silent.
Fjord.
Thank you. I'll ask you next time. I'll try.
You're consistent in your error on that though, so gotta give you credit for that.
What?
George.
George. Okay, so I want to bring one if George. Ah,
Don't use the word.
I can go. Yeah, no kidding.
Think of Chevy.
If I can come, yeah, huh?
Just
Yeah,
think
think
of
of
Chevy.
Chevy. Forge.
Ford, say the word Ford with an emphasis on the F.
Oh,
Or
you know how long it took me to get the Wolf name down? That was terrible.
to get the what?
All right. Oh, I kept calling his family the wrong name. They would just look at me every time like, don't say our name. Okay, so they've got some really nice pictures in here. So I'll pick this one. So now it's going to take that, and I want to show you something here. I'm just going to wait a second here. You saw what happened there? What happened on the side there was called the design idea. If you have certain images or certain words and you're connected to the internet, it will try to suggest to you something like, in this case, use the whole screen, or these other ones, make it look like a picture. But a lot of times you can just play off of this design ideas and create a whole presentation that looks really professional. And it's also driven by text. So if I did have something on here like prayer, I think I did it earlier when I was testing this out, it came up with a Buddha. And so I changed it to something more appropriate. But that's just something you want to keep in mind is when you throw a picture or certain text in there, it's going to try to format it for it. It follows those rules. So that's kind of a nice thing to have. So I'll just say prayer of Thanksgiving. And see what it does. So it didn't do anything for that one, but sometimes it will come up with something. And then you can take that and kind of like modify it.
Microsoft isn't into prayer.
They're
into false prayer, not biblical prayer.
What if you take that take a ship and put it in that box? Just take that.
Take the ship and put it in here.
Yeah.
This one.
Yep, and then it'll just take the ship.
Yep, and then it'll fix it for me.
Yep.
Yeah, it does a really good job. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, when we're trying to do all this fancy formatting of a picture, it's not necessary. So
go to the one down. Design idea, right there. No, down one more. Sorry.
You like this one?
Well,
that one.
Yeah, just click on that. See if it adds a prayer on the side.
Yeah, I did it earlier, and I can't remember what term I used, but it did a Buddha, and then I was able to.
Okay. Well, but you can change
prayer hands in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the average advertisement has nothing to do with the theme.
Right.
So
whatever.
So that's the
float your boat.
Yeah. That's the basic idea, guys. I'll show you how to save it and how to make sure you can use it again. Because what happens is when you save this just as, a file name, and you just save this separately as, whatever you're naming it, it's going to just only keep the template in there. But if you want to actually save it to use again, you go save as, you pick your location, and then there's this option here, POTX, the PowerPoint template. The moment you do that, it becomes a template, and it's available for you to use. So when I come back in here and I want to do new, and I can say, let's see, presentation. I don't know what name I gave it. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. Let's do open. Sorry. There we go. So you see it's right there, POTX. I did a couple of other trials, so I was able to go in, and so anytime I wanted to create part 2, I don't have to go back into my original one and mess it up, try to save as, and hope I just go back to my template and use that. And like I said, I'm going to show you guys how to actually pull these things in right directly from Word. I just want to work on that a little more. So any questions or any thoughts
Really good.
that help?
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a lot of rules that I'll send you some of the resources I use to pull this together. But the main thing is just remember, it's just really two things. It's a header and a body. You got a title, you got verses, and then you have, you know, you just basically have whatever extra you want. And if you have time, if you don't have time, you basically can just do this and just animate it, you know, and have your verses. Well, that's all I got.
That's good.